Order! Order!
The ayes to the right, 299. The noes to the left, 70.
The ayes to the right, 299. To the noes to the left, 70. So the ayes have it, the ayes have it. The ayes have it, but the motion has not obtained the majority required under the Fixed Term Parliaments Act 2011. And because the I'm coming to the right, honourable gentleman. Because the majority required has not been reached, the noes have it. Point of order, the Prime Minister.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. The Leader of the Opposition, literally and figuratively, has run away from the judgment of the people for the third time, Mr. Speaker. He's turned down our offer to get Brexit done, in spite of the fact that he and every member of his party stood on a promise to deliver Brexit in this Parliament. And I think, frankly, that the electorate will find his behaviour utterly bewildering. But as I said when moving the motion, we will not allow this paralysis to continue. And one way or another, we must proceed straight to an election. So later on this evening, the government will give notice of presentation for a short bill for an election on the 12th of December so that we can finally get Brexit done. And there is no support in the House, as we've heard earlier on from the benches opposite, for the WAB to proceed. But, Mr. Speaker, this House cannot any longer keep this country hostage. Millions of families and businesses cannot plan for the future, and I don't believe that this paralysis and this stagnation should be allowed to continue. Now that no deal is off the table, we have a great new deal. We have a great new deal, and it's time for the voters to have a chance to pronounce on that deal. And to replace this dysfunctional Parliament with a new Parliament that can get Brexit done so the country can move on.
Thank you. Point of order, Mr. Ian Blackford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm most grateful. It is clear that there is a desire on the opposition benches to bring forward a bill that can give us an election. But, Mr. Speaker, we don't trust this Prime Minister. And we don't trust this Prime Minister for good reason. So the Prime Minister, if he is going to bring forward a bill, must give an absolute cast-iron assurance that up until the passage of that bill and the rising of Parliament, that there will be no attempt to bring forward the withdrawal agreement bill. And of course the SNP will do its job and scrutinise any bill that comes forward. But it's absolutely demonstrably the case that we want an election. We want the people of Scotland to be given the opportunity to have their say. And we will fight that election. We will fight that election, Mr. Speaker, on the right of the Scottish people to determine their own future.
Hear, hear.
And that we will not, under any circumstances, consent to being taken out of the European Union against our will. And that election campaign will make it clear that the right to determine our future will be in the hands of the Scottish people.
Thank you. Point of order, the Father of the House, Mr. Kenneth Clark.
Mr. Speaker, we've just had an hour and a half of a slightly out-of-control student union debate, and it sounds as though we might have a rather similar farcical performance tomorrow. Is there any chance, Mr. Speaker, of you as the Chair of the House, to persuade the usual channels to resume their meetings and produce a sensible timetable for the bill we have before us, so that this House can resume discussion of these serious matters in a grown-up fashion and come to a resolution on the deal, which personally, I repeat, I will vote for if it reaches third reading, as I think it will, and it could well be that we could get back to the orderly government which I think the general public are dearly wishing we would rapidly do.
careful note of what the Father of the House has said, and I'm certainly open to any such discussions, but it does require willing participants, and it remains to be seen with the passage of time whether that be so. But I think everybody will be attentive on this occasion, as on every other, to what, on the basis of 49 years' experience in the House, the Father of the House has had to say to us. A point of order, Mr. Jeremy Corbyn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I apologise to you and to the Prime Minister for not being here at the point when he raised his point of order. I was detained outside the chamber. I'm now back here. I understand a bill will be tabled tomorrow. We will obviously look and scrutinise that bill, and we look forward to a clear, definitive decision that no deal is absolutely off the table, and there is no danger of this Prime Minister not sticking to his word because he has some form on these matters and taking this country out of the EU without any deal whatsoever, knowing the damage it will do to jobs and industries all across this country.
Thank you. That point stands in its own right. A point of order, I think, on a completely unrelated matter. Point of order, Mr. Stephen Doughty.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As you know, I believe in correcting things when I get things wrong, and I want to apologise to the Honourable Member for East Yorkshire, a very honourable gentleman, for incorrectly referencing his seat in my point of order earlier on to the Prime Minister. I understand he has, in fact, been re-adopted by his association, and I want to apologise to him for mistaking his seat for another, and for that I truly apologise to him.
Typically gracious of the honourable gentleman, and I have a sense that it will be accepted readily, but let's hear a response in the form of a point of order from Sir Gregory Knight.
That point of order, Mr. Speaker, I accept the very gracious comments just made.
I'm greatly obliged, as the honourable gentleman will be, to the right honourable gentleman. Order. If there are no further points of order, the clerk will now proceed to read the orders of the day.
Environment Bill, second reading.
Now. Order. Before I invite, it says here the Minister, no mere Minister, the Secretary of State herself, to move the second reading, I must announce my decision on certification for the purposes of Standing Order number 83J, with which I'm sure colleagues are keenly familiar, certification of bills, etc., as relating exclusively to England and Wales, and being within devolved legislative competence. On the basis of material put before me, I certify that, in my opinion, clauses 1 to 18, 23, 52, 78, 84 and 88 to 121 of the Environment Bill and Schedules 15 to 19 to the Bill relate exclusively to England on matters within devolved legislative competence as defined in Standing Order number 83J. And I know colleagues are keenly hanging upon this. Clauses 56, 61, 63, 65, 73 to 75, 77 and 86 of the Environment Bill and Schedule 11 to the Bill relate exclusively to England and Wales on matters within devolved legislative competence as defined in Standing Order number 83J. Order. The Secretary of State to move the second reading. Secretary Theresa Villiers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that the bill now be read a second time. Mr. Speaker, this is a government which recognises the profound importance of the great environmental challenges of our